Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to continue now with the chapter. Shortly before being drafted into the Army, I had begun teaching myself to play the guitar, and a guitar accompanied me on the ship. Being in the Army was an excellent opportunity to experience soldiers from many states who played the guitar. Everyone who knew something to play on the guitar took the time to teach me how to play what they had learned. A soldier of Mexican nativity, his name Toya, knew how to play the guitar to a degree and had a seemingly good voice. He had taught me more than any other person. Mike and I spent much of our time together hiding out in a special C4 room, Toya. I also shared a great degree of time with another person named Robert Kelly. He came from upstate New York and had been assigned to the Como section. Robert had reddish blonde hair, a few freckles, and an original Irish smile. He was always joking, and sometimes he seemed to me amazingly funny. That was interesting because so was Mike, and those two was the only soldiers that attracted me. We learned that the USS Patch was moving approximately 24 knots an hour. The ship was covering a distance of approximately 550 miles a day. We had been out on the Pacific Ocean 5 days, and there had been no storms or winds. Each day so far had been hot, and the ocean was calm enough to ski on. Once a two-propeller airplane buzzed the ship, which was appreciated by most everyone. Sometimes off in the distance we could see a ship making its way to wherever. Other than that, it was water in the sky. A helicopter landed during the first 5 days and delivered some mail plus took mail. It would be the only time we would receive mail during the voyage to Vietnam. I got a letter from my parents and sure was happy to hear from them. One day we turned in our American currency in trade for MPC, Military Payment Certificate, alias funny money. Money did not mean much to many soldiers, so there were many high-stake poker games being played. Sometimes a few soldiers would win anywhere from $400 to $2,000, then perhaps lose it the next day. Christmas Day was being planned as it was only 4 days away. We're going to have some people play music, some comedians to make us laugh, and a couple of magicians to do some tricks. I received the honors to pull detail in the butcher shop on Christmas Day to help pill 3,000 shrimp. Yippee! What the hell? I was glad to do it. The Christmas party turned out to be okay for a group of soldiers on a ship, and everyone was thinking that their family, loved ones, was with them in their thoughts. The Christmas party turned out to be okay for a group of soldiers on a ship, and everyone was thinking that their family, loved ones, was with them in their thoughts. An officer whom I had not met before gave me a songbook, folk music. From what he described about himself and friends in relation to the songbook made it easy for me to see the songbook was close to him. From that time on, that songbook became personal to me, and I knew it would stay with me always. We arrived at Okinawa, where the ship was tied up at a dock to refuel and replenish the food supply. There were various natives standing on the dock, waving, talking, and many soldiers threw coins down at them. The natives went crazy. They dived for the money, knocked each other out of the way, and even stepped on each other's hands to get their coins. Perhaps insanity at its best. As the ship refueled and took on supplies, one battalion of soldiers would go ashore to get drunk or whatever for 1 hour. When they returned, the other battalion could go for an hour, then we would set sail. I did not wish to go ashore. Instead, I stood on the deck, observed the entire operation, and learned much about man. When the first battalion to leave arrived back, they gave an amusing show for me. The greatest percentage of them, for no other words, were shit-faced. Of course, they were no different from our battalion when they came back from their hour of pleasure. One soldier decided that he would take a shortcut instead of walking to the dock and down to the ship. He walked into the water, and about the time the water started splashing in his mouth, a light turned on in his head, telling him that what he was doing was not going to work. He managed to turn around and make for the shore. Some soldiers got into fistfights with each other. There was one soldier that was obviously shit-faced standing on the dock at the side of the ship. He jumped into the water, climbed out, and told this other soldier who was watching him he was not a man if he could not do what he had just done. No need to go further, as you probably know what happened. All that commotion, and there I was, leaning against the deck railing, observing everything, totally outside it. With that commotion, there was also a beauty that presented itself, a beauty that knew no thought. As everyone who left the ship had returned, they reported to their positions below deck. Waiting a few moments, without the presence of anyone, I journeyed back to the door that opened to the stairs leading downward. Reaching the door, a second lieutenant who thought he was in charge of me had come up the stairs. He looked surprised when he saw me. "Dugan, where have you been? I've been looking all over for you." "Standing on the deck, sir, taking in the show." "Dugan, since the short time we have been associated, I've had a difficult time with you. Now, you're going to have to let us take care of you. Report to your position." "Yes, sir." Good person, I thought, as I made my way down the stairs to the bottom of the ship. However, not too brilliant. A few days later, December 31st, 1966, we finally arrived in safe waters off the shore of Vung Tau, South Vietnam. There was another ship sitting not too far away from ours. It seemed a USN naval ship, used as a troop carrier among other things. After 18 days and nights, crossing the 180th meridian, we had arrived. I entertained the thoughts, now what? We were ordered to equip ourselves and go to the deck. There on the deck we would stay for 2 days because the word came down that the United States and North Vietnam was honoring the Vietnamese most important holiday. We could not storm the beach until January 3rd, 1967. At night, a large white screen had been placed in a position so as most soldiers could see it. Then we got to watch a movie. What a classic. There we were, crammed on a deck of a ship, fully dressed for battle. We were waiting to go ashore to kill or be killed, and we got to watch a movie starring the Beatles, titled Help. Toward the evening, a couple hours left, an old troop to shore carrier with a small band seated inside putted around the two ships as a small band played songs. I thought this too could have been a movie. The weather during those 2 days was a hot 115 degrees. We were still fully dressed and equipped with ammunition. That and 2,000 soldiers crammed onto the deck made it one hell of a miserable time. No one seemed to know where we were going. However, who cared? Many of us wanted to do something, even if it was wrong. The whole thing was seemingly crazy to me anyway. Hell, the Code of Conduct, the Rules for War, Geneva Convention, and the Military Code of Justice seemed to have scared the shit out of me. Fuck. I was more frightened about getting killed by the authorities of the United States than getting killed by the enemy, whoever the hell they were. On the ship, there were stories going around where young girls 5 to 9 years of age would run up to a soldier and stab him with a knife or have a bomb go off that was strapped to her. Also, could anyone show a card that reads they are a Vietnamese citizen, then you can't shoot them, even if you know damn well they are a Viet Cong or a North Viet Cong regular. Of course, those rules were only for us Americans. Some Australians bragged about how they would put an explosive in a loaf of bread and hand it to a person that had a card, though the Australians knew damn well they were Viet Cong. The Viet Cong would go, "Ah, so, thank you, number one," and the Australian would walk away, and boom, goodbye, Viet Cong. There are other stories about the various snakes and scorpions. The sidewinder snake was deadly and could outrun man. Once a scorpion stung you, it was said that you had 3 seconds before death. There was a story before we ever left the United States about a different kind of syphilis. If you got it, you could not come back to the United States. A scary position for soldiers 18 through 21, and more so for soldiers that had families. Conclusion of the chapter, folks, and at the end of the chapter we have the letter, which I'll attempt to read to you quickly. Here it is, December 18th, and I'm naturally on the boat. Patch is the name. What a ride. Everybody was sick, seasick that is, except for me. But can't get rid of this darn headache. It seems to do things to you. I imagine I'll survive though, although I don't have much choice. We've been on the ship 5 days now, and it's been hell. I have detail every 3 days, exercises every morning, and sleep in the afternoon or go to classes, which is kind of boring. More than likely, we'll arrive in Okinawa about the 26th of December, then Vietnam about the 31st of December. Won't be able to mail any letters until then, so I'll write on the envelopes which one I write first. That way, they might make better sense. Dad, could you have Bud drop some liquid wrench oil in the spark plug holes on my engine? This is very important and must be done right away. If I don't get any liquid wrench oil in the tops of the cylinders, the rings will rust and ruin the cylinders walls, plus freeze the engine. Please don't forget now. I'll really appreciate it. How's Jill been? And give you her regards lately. She's really not a bad person, you know. How's old Dave making it? Probably getting a lot more sleep than a little while back. I'll have to drop a line his way sometime. Have you heard from Sacramento about my license plates yet? The ocean has been pretty smooth and doesn't hit any storms yet, which is a good thing, because this old wreck would probably sink. It's about as old as the hills. There's about 2,000 soldiers on this tub, and it makes it quite hard to move around. This is my address from now on. Love, Thomas. Okay, folks, check for the next chapter. Vong Tao to Camp Bearcat. Trip across the pond, folks. Come back.